have to tell you, I do love that music, especially when I'm live. I'm back here live this week on Twitch, Twitter, Twitter X, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. You can catch me here every single week on my YouTube. The handle is right here for you, MJS Photography. Catch me here every single week for a live session where I'm going to teach you a little bit about photography and share about my life here living in Tokyo, Japan. Whew, the last few weeks have been intense. I was working as a unit still photographer on a movie, and it was an independent movie. We shot the entire film in a matter of 14 days. They were intense hours. So we probably shot like 2 months worth of shooting in 14 days because we were working 16 to 18-hour days. I'll share a lot more about that in future YouTube sessions and live sessions. But right now, today, I want to take you behind the scenes of life in Japan and share a lesson that's going to definitely help you elevate your photography today. Enough said, let's dive into today's whole session here. I'm ready to rock and roll. Today, I want to share my first experience riding in a Ferrari. Now, this is not just my first time riding in a Ferrari in Japan. It's my first time riding in a Ferrari, period. And we all love Ferraris. I know, like, there's a lot of my friends are car people, and I'm sure maybe there's a lot of people out there right now who are car people. And when you see a Ferrari parked on the street, yeah, people come over and look at it. Like here in this picture, there's one parked on the street. People coming over to talk to the driver, ask about it. This is the Portofino Ferrari, I believe, and it's beautiful. It definitely catches your attention. I think the first time I saw a Ferrari way back when was on some old show taking place in Hawaii, where the star was driving around this red Ferrari, and I've been in love with that car ever since. So I see this car, get to see it up close and personal, see all the details. This is like a silver gray Ferrari, totally beautiful. Absolutely loved it. Seeing all the details and the design, very slick and cool. I love everything about this car. It's just one sexy, beautiful car. But this car was not just a car that's parked on the street. I actually know the person who's driving it, because this car was used in the movie, and we're filming on with the car a few days during the shoot. And one day the director invited me to ride from one location to the other in this Ferrari. This is my first time in this car, where you hit the gas and the G's hit you and push you back in the seat. It was incredible. Beautiful, beautiful car. This is with the car with the top up, but with the car down, it is absolutely incredible and beautiful. It gets better. Bring it on for real, because this car, just hearing it turn on, hearing the sound of the engine roar was just so cool. And I enjoyed my first ride in this car with the director of the movie, Chuck Johnson. What an amazing experience working on this movie. Definitely, of course, getting ready to ride in the car with him as we went from one location to shoot from one set to the other. And this day was fantastic. I'll never forget my first time riding in a Ferrari. And it just happened to be on a movie set, riding with the director from one set to the other. Now, I've got a lot more to share about that in upcoming shows, but right now, I just want to introduce you to the director, Chuck Johnson. He lives here in Tokyo, Japan. Been here for over 20 years, and it was a pleasure to work on this movie. More about that soon. So maybe you have questions. I'm here to take all your questions about everything from my stories to even the lessons. And today we've got some great lessons for you that will hopefully help you as you go from taking your photography to that next level. Make sure I have my chat open so I can see all your questions. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Good to see you there. And I think Brian is in Australia, down under. Good seeing you here today, man. Thank you for showing up. I want to today spend time talking about a lesson that can help us all elevate our photography. If you are letting your camera take control as you take pictures, you're not getting the most out of your photography. Today, I want to help you elevate your work by focusing on just one element of photography, shutter speed. So today, let's dive into the lesson. So let me just dive into this right now. I think when you learn how to use all the tools of photography, it's going to help you become a better photographer. And you definitely need to learn shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO, and how to use them, because once you go beyond what the camera can do by itself and you learn why those three pillars of photography, shutter speed, aperture, ISO, are so important, and you begin using them to your advantage, it changes everything. Hey, T-Flows, how you doing? Good to see you here as well. Love seeing people come in. Feel free to ask questions all you want as I go and share more about lessons in photography. Let's dive into this. So I'm going to go now and make sure I can get the right slide for you guys to see as we dive into this lesson. My name is Matthew Jordan Smith. I've been a photographer for over 35 years doing what I love. I'm also a Nikon ambassador. Nikon. I know in the States people say Nikon, but I'm here in Japan, so I got to say it the correct way. Nikon ambassador. And I love this industry. It's taken me so far, and I want to share everything I can to help you go further in your photography as well. Today, we're talking about capturing motion using shutter speed. And I want to give you a few techniques on how to do that. So I love showing motion because it has more of a feeling to your images when you can show what it feels like to the viewer. So you now know I live in Tokyo, the busiest city in the world, the busiest crossing in the world. I shoot there all the time. I'll probably go back there today to shoot some more, as a matter of fact. I want to show motion. So in this picture, I'm using my shutter speed to slow down life in Tokyo. Now, to get this image on a bright sunny day and shoot for slow shutter speed, you do need a few tricks up your sleeve. You can't really shoot on a bright sunny day and shoot a slow shutter speed because the sun is too bright for you. So I need to use an ND filter, neutral density, to put over my lens, and then I can shoot maybe like a 15th or a 10th or slower if I want to. I have my subject sit very still. He's meditating right there in the middle of Shibuya crossing. And then I put on a 10 stop or 16 stop ND filter to slow down the action and shoot at a slow shutter speed. Now, when you use an ND filter that is like that dense, 16 stops, 10 stops, you need the best glass possible. You don't want to buy a cheap ND filter because you'll see aberrations in that glass. You want to get the most expensive, the best ND filters so you don't have any of those weird things happening when you have that much ND in front of your glass. I've been doing this for a long time. I've shot it all over the world, Tokyo, Vegas, Bali, Europe, you name it. I've shot this way. And I've been doing it for a few years, and I absolutely love it. Showing motion this way. This is again in Shibuya, busiest city in the world. I love doing it with different clients, different friends, different subjects. Sometimes it's the person. Sometimes I'm focusing low and just getting feet because it's a different point of view. I've been shooting this one for about 2 years now, and I love this series shooting this way. All these are ND filters to cut down the light of the sun, and then I shoot at my slow shutter speed to get that motion. Now, you can do this with not just people, you can do it with cars. So I told you earlier that I was in a Ferrari for the first time this week and experienced the joy, the thrill of being in a super fast, beautiful car. Now, here the director is driving this car, and I'm using the amazing focus mode that focuses just on a car with my Nikon Z9 to can track the car as it goes super fast. So he's speeding down the highway, but I have a very fast shutter speed, like 10,000 shutter speed to freeze the motion. Look at the tires in the car. I'm stopping that car in its track, so you stop the motion, which is great in some situations. If I'm photographing the Olympics, maybe I want to freeze the motion as a runner is flying down the track. Then I'll use a very fast shutter speed, 10,000, 8,000, somewhere in there to really freeze the moment. But sometimes you want to show what that motion feels like. So in this version, I'm actually shooting again at a slow shutter speed, and I'm panning along with the car. This way, it shows the motion of the car. It's a fast car. You want to show that's a fast car. And by showing the wheels moving as they blur with that slow shutter speed, and I'm panning along with the car, you get the motion, you get the feeling, all of that to make it come to life. Now, I know you may have a lot of questions about this and shutter speed, and it's super important that you understand all these techniques and really master them because they're not easy to do on your own. You've got to know all about your shutter speed, aperture, ISO. So let me now just take your questions on that you may have about stopping motion or showing motion in your work. The first tip I want to give you before I answer any questions is to learn your shutter speed and your aperture and your ISO. One way, if you don't know, is to use a light meter. A light meter is not just about giving you exposure. It's going to teach you how shutter speed, ISO, and aperture work. This tool that some think is old-fashioned is a very valuable tool. If you're learning about light, especially strobe light, this is an essential tool for you to use. If you want to learn how to have control of a shutter speed, aperture, whatever the case, that tool will definitely help you. All right, now let me get to your questions. Now, does the gap in ISO with dual ISO cameras bother you? No, it does not. So it's actually kind of cool to have dual ISO because in the old days, I mean, we've always had it, to be honest. Like there were days when I was shooting Polaroid, for those who remember that. So like I said, dual ISO, one for my shutter speed, one for my Polaroid camera, one for my film camera. So I used that dual ISO a lot, even back in the day before digital. And today that's great as well, because when I'm shooting maybe two cameras, maybe I want to have two different ISOs. So it's great to have dual ISO and use it to your advantage when you need to. You don't always need to have that, but it is great to have it when you need it. When I was shooting on the movie set, I had two cameras on me at all times, and I changed my ISO based on what I was doing. One I'd have on a long lens, one I have on a wide lens. Sometimes I'm shooting in dark situations or low light or bright light. All that helps you in the moment, and having it fast is really, really cool. Thank you for that question, Roy. That's really cool. Let's see. Here's another great question. Was the slow shutter speed shot of people a half a second? So I vary on that because you can't, when it comes to shutter speed, you can't just use one shutter speed for everybody. So the pictures I showed earlier of the people walking. And again, I shot some of those pictures in London, some in New York, some in Vegas, some in Japan. And what I discovered doing that is people walk at a different pace in all of those cities. New York, people walk fast. So I changed my shutter speed based on the pace of the traffic. In Vegas, people are leisurely walking slow. So again, I've got to change it. And in Tokyo, it's kind of a mix in between New York and not as slow as Vegas for sure, but not as fast as New York. But I changed that around. So it varies based on the people and their pace. Now, it can go anywhere from a 15th of a second to 1 second. It depends on the pace of the people. So thanks, Roy, for that question. It will change based on how much blur you want. You don't want to go too long on your exposure with the shutter speed, because if it's too long, everyone disappears. You won't see any motion at all, because if it's too long, say if it's like 5 seconds, the people will disappear. You won't see any movement at all. It'll be just like a long blur that's barely there. So this does take experimentation and finding out how people are walking in your area. So experiment, have fun, and let me know what your experience is like as you do that. Let's see. Roy says, I find the place between two ISO processors on the Z9 sometimes as a problem. I don't see it as a problem at all. I think there are a lot of great features on the Z9 and Z8. If there are features that you don't like, just don't use those features. Don't let anything get in the way for you. For me, I don't like using auto ISO. I like having control over that. I know it's great if you're doing video, probably to have auto ISO, but with the ISO, I like having control over that all the time. So use the features that you like, and the ones that you don't, cut those out. Let me see if we have any other questions here. I love you guys and all your questions all the time. Please feel free to ask at any time. I love this business of photography, and I love sharing it with you. So every week, I'll be back here to share more. Do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube so you can get notifications when we go live, or even when we're not live. Make sure you are subscribing so you can get all the details, all the stories, and so much more on my YouTube channel. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time today. It's great being here. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone very soon. Next week, back here for another session of stories and lessons. I'm photographer Matthew Jordan Smith, sharing all the tips, tricks, and more that have given me a great career in photography. And I want you to have a great career as well, or even take your hobby to that next level. Until next week, everyone, be well. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye, everyone.